This is so important for me to be standing here addressing a bunch of activists in the Birmingham West Midlands region. And first of all, thank you to Adele and to Joe and to all the other people who have worked hard fronting the workshops up and people who have helped to facilitate this whole weekend. So that's today and tomorrow. Because Birmingham West Midlands region have always been trailblazing, you know, sitting there looking at some of the stuff you have on the table there, looking at the BOSS organisation, Birmingham Organised Sisters organisation, the care charter that came from this very region, some really groundbreaking stuff and innovative stuff. And that was kind of where Branch Activists Weekends started for me. And I'll take you through, if I may, a little bit of history about how Branch Activists Weekend started. And it sounds like it's all about me, and it isn't all about me at all, please. Everything I'm going to say to you for the next sort of 20 minutes or whatever isn't about me personally, it's about how I got to where I got to and why. Because I think that's probably important and what I would like to discuss with you. Because at the end of it, I will happily take every question you've got for me and 20 more, I really would. Because rather than just talk at you for half an hour, whatever my slot is, I'd rather talk for 20 minutes or 15 and then we can get into a discussion, however tricky that may be. But what I will assure you all of is that I will pull no punches, I will hide behind nothing, I will take every single question you have, I will deal with every bit of criticism, and I will deal with it as fairly and equitably and as decent and responsibly as I possibly can. So please, challenge of me and of the organisation is not unwelcome at all. Because the idea of Branch Activists Weekend that I started in Yorkshire region in 2008 was because I wanted to hear from the activists. And if you're comfortable in your own skin and you're comfortable in your own environment, then you welcome challenge. And if you're comfortable in the job that you do and the confidence in the ability of all of the people, and I don't mean people who are employed by the union, luckily like we are, I mean the people who volunteer, who do the even tougher work like you. Because I go home with a very good salary, thank you very much, and a company car. Most of you don't get that luxury for putting your hand up and saying, or probably being out the bloody room, when someone cajoles you into being the rep for the members. So, when I got into Yorkshire region, it was 2007. And I was appointed by a committee of 17 people. It was a bit unwieldy, to be honest, but there you are. I got the job, and at that time, as Joe will tell you, and I think Joe's just about the only other one in history that has been appointed as a regional secretary into a region for which he didn't originate. And I was the same. I originated from London region. I'm sorry, I don't know if you know my background with the GMB. I started working with the GMB as a 17-year-old kid in the post room in London. I just used to go around the offices collecting the mail up. And now, 37 years later, I'm at the top, and it's just, for me, I couldn't be more proud and humble, and it blows my mind. You know, when someone says, you're General Secretary Tim, I keep expecting them to say someone else's name. It's crazy, and it's so humbling, it's untrue. But that hasn't been about my journey. That has been about the journey that I've done with everybody I've worked with over those 37 years. So, I got appointed Regional Secretary of Yorkshire North Derbyshire region in May of 2007, actually April of 2007. And the first thing I had to do was take the delegation to GMB Congress in 2007, which was June, so kind of a month later. I didn't know anybody, I didn't know a soul. And the region at that time had had a real history of some issues and problems. No, I'm going to debate with you or discuss with you here, it's irrelevant, it's gone, it was 10 years ago, why would I want to break that back up? But suffice it to say, the region was very split. There were people who were over in one camp or another, or there were other people who just wanted to keep their head down and just let me do my job and go home, please, and whatever. And I asked for those people to trust me. Just give me the trust and give me the opportunity to try and pull things together. Because I said to them all that nobody wants to be part of something that isn't successful. Everybody wants to be a part of something that they can be proud of, that they can hold their heads up and be a part of that is successful. And they trusted me. And at that first conference, they responded and supported me all the way through, even bought me drinks at night, which was amazing. But the very next piece of business I had to do was to appoint 2 new officers in the region. And we appointed in the usual way, and we ran the interview system in exactly the same way as we'd done in the GMB, probably for over 100 years since the GMB was formed. And that was, you put the advert out and say, who wants to be a GMB organiser, please? And you get a load of people shortlisted, and you look at their application, and you bring them all in, and you ask them 10 questions. So you talk to them for half an hour at the most. And every one of those people that you appoint in the GMB, you're investing £1 million of members' money in them. I don't think that cuts the mustard, Colorades, at all. I just don't. And the other thing was, because I didn't know any of them in that region at all, they could have told me anything. They could have, probably, some of them did. You know, I recruited 1 million members yesterday. So how would I know whether they did or whether they didn't? So the first thing that we did, and I worked with one regional secretary on doing this, and it was him, we changed the interview system. Because it isn't enough, I'm afraid, to invest £1 million of members' money on a 10-question line competition, because that's what it can be. So we introduced assessment days, where we get the applications in, we long list from the applicants, and we put them through an assessment day. And I came down there just before lunch and saw some of you in a role play with Mo and Stuart. Where are you? Stuart, I couldn't see you. And that's part of how we do in the assessment. Same sort of role play, where an employer gives you a hard time, where an employer says, you know, try it. But also, you get them up in groups, and you see who picks the pen up, who leads the group, and you kind of see them in their own environment, but also shaking them out of their comfort zones. And from that whole assessment day, and it does literally take from 9 in the morning till 6:30 at night, you shortlist to your 10, 12 questions or whatever it is, and then usually you'll get the best people come through. And guess what happened? Guess what happened in Yorkshire? Since we changed that from August 2007, 2/3 of the people we appointed were women. And yet before that, the officer force in Yorkshire was 18% women. Now, that says something to me that, of course, women are the best candidates a lot of the time. But the system, as it was, wasn't made to develop women, wasn't made to develop any of the other strands that are part of our equality structure. So that was the first piece of work. The next piece of work was that we employ in Yorkshire Region, and please, I don't keep going about Yorkshire Region, but I'm literally going to roll it out with Birmingham West Midlands in a bit. We employ 15 servicing officers. 15 officers with a worksheet of 3,500 members or whatever it is, with all the company Hobson's on it, or Amazon or whatever. 15 officers will never look after 55,000 members, never. So what you need to do is build your activists. So I charged all the officers with building their rep space, their shop steward space, their activist space, workplace organiser space, call it what you like. Get more of them. But when you get them, you may identify them as the workplace leader, their members, their peers may identify them as the workplace leader. That's clearly the one, she's the one we listen to, he's the one we look for, she's the one who we go to. If they agree to be the rep, then you support them. And you support them from that first minute. Because if you support them from that first minute, thanking them for what they do, here I am, go through the initial support training with them, 3 or 4 hours that should take, that first meeting, you will build that bond that they will never, ever stop repaying you for. But then what we had to do is put them through a proper, decent, quality training programme. And in the GMB, it's scandalous, comrades, that you can go in a day 3 training course in Sunderland, and it will be completely different to a day 3 training course in Southampton, even if that happens. And in Scotland at the moment, they don't even have an education officer. I'm not having a dig at Scotland, I'm just saying how crazy the 9-region GMB structure is in terms of training. Surely we must and should know exactly what, when a rep says, yeah, go on then, I'll be the rep, what we want to train and educate that rep to become. And if it's good enough in Stoke, then surely it's good enough in Solihull, isn't it? Surely it's also good enough in London or anywhere else. So we're working as we speak on a 10-day core programme that isn't, this is what Tim Roache says, or this is what the education officers say. We're going to be talking to people like you. And that's what part of this is about. It's about listening. So that's the first thing. Then it was, well, okay, if we're building this GMB activist base, how are we going to listen to them? How are we going to ask them what their challenges and issues are? And that was when the GMB Activists Weekend was born. And it was 2008, it was November 2008, we had our first Yorkshire North Derbyshire Regional Activist Weekend. It looked exactly like this. Same sort of numbers, exactly the same commitment. We did exactly what Joe's done here. We didn't invite the same old course goers, you know, been on more courses than Leicester Bigger. We wanted people to come along who had something different and fresh and innovative to say. Not that long-standing activists and reps haven't got good contribution. Of course they have, and they're welcome. But you know who I mean, the ones who turn up because there might be a free lunch on and they don't really want to participate and get involved. So we had that first branch activist weekend. And what I said to all those turning up is, I said, look, I want you to challenge. I want you to spend this whole weekend challenging. You've given up your time. So I want to turn the room round. And effectively, you are at the top table and I'm in the audience. Because I want to hear what you've got to say. I want to hear what you become the rep, what you need from me and from your union to help you build your workplace, to help you organise, to help you service, to help you negotiate, to help you look after the members in your workplace. Because if you do that, then I can move on to the next workplace that isn't organised, and I could spend focus and time on that. And the success of that was that every one of those branch activist weekends for the next 2008, 7 years, that formed the business plan for the region every year. So I would say to them in November, whatever we discuss and agree for this next day and a half, that will be the Yorkshire North Derbyshire region business plan for the next 12 months. When we started out on this, when I joined the region in 2007, we had 300 activists across the region, 300 reps and 55,000 members. When I left, because I'd got another job, we had 1,350 reps and 65,000 members. 10,000 more members and 1,050 more reps. And it wasn't me. People didn't join the union because that Cockney bloke was the regional secretary of Yorkshire. They joined because of the reps. And every single new training course for reps, I went into every one. I said to my education officer at the start of every year, I'm going to know every single training course for new reps, please. And I'm going to go into every one. And I went into every single one, and I advised, and I've already done it. Every regional secretary did the same. The first thing I say to them all was, thank you so much, thank you. And they would always say, what do you thank me? I haven't done anything yet. Oh yeah, but you will. And the very fact that you've agreed to be a volunteer to look after people in their darkest hour and in their moment of need just speaks volumes, and we can never repay that faith. But then I take them through the story and the history of the region, how it's built. It's been built through people like themselves, and they understand. So you can't, I keep talking about, and you know, the theme of this, building a 21st century union. When I stood to be the General Secretary of the GMB, there were two of us who ran, and I said that we wanted to build a 21st century union, and I would do it by being the activist, the members' General Secretary. And what I meant by that is events like this. Because, you know, I haven't worked in the care sector ever. I've never worked in Dunlop. I've never worked in Asda. I've never worked in the NHS. I've never worked, but I know people who do. And it isn't any good for someone like me to sit in my ivory tower in Euston or anywhere else come to that and say, this is what you need to do, go on, go out and do it, because this is how we used to do it 20 years ago. The world of work changes 20 weeks ago, let alone 20 years ago. And the only way we can respond to that is by asking the people who are looking after their members and are facing those challenges with their employers day in and day out. So that's why Branch Activist Weekends came about. And now we've got just about, there's about 3 left, I think, regions who haven't done it yet, but got them in the pipeline, who have had a Branch Activist Weekend there first. This is about the best attended of all of those that have had in their inaugural event. So thank you and well done, and I mean that. I'm not being patronising at all, I mean it. And next year it will. It'll be twice as big as this, I can guarantee it. Because A, people think, you know, it's new and it's something different. Yeah, am I going to enjoy it? Is it going to be stuffy? Is it going to be, you know, rules and minutes and all, minutes of the last meeting, all that stuff? And by looking at what you've done, you've even done a run around. Bloody hell, I remember that when I was about 15. I mean, that's amazing, even though Steph B wasn't even born there, I hear. So, it will build. But the union will not be built by the regional management team, the national management team, or even our national executive. The union will be built by the reps and by its members. And that takes me on to, since I've got the job, because it's been pretty challenging, to be honest. It's been a bit of a tough gig. I started on the 1st of March, so I've been doing the job 6 months yesterday. And in that time, we've had the Trade Union Act, we've had Britain coming out of Europe, we've got a new Prime Minister, we've got the debacle of the Labour Party leadership, we've got a major reorganisation of National Office going on, we've got public services, the NHS being hammered, we've got the care sector currently being underfunded to the extent that it's literally going to go over the abyss. So yeah, it's been a tough gig, but not that I'm moaning about it for one moment. Because I know that we've got a network of members, activists and officers and staff who are brilliant behind us to deal with that. So my first challenge in terms of my new role as General Secretary was, well, look, having been an officer in a region, well, originally a postroom boy in London region, then I went to Midland East Coast region, I was there 20 odd years, I was a legal officer, then I was an organiser, then I was a 10-year senior organiser, and that's when I went to Yorkshire region. Having been in 3 different regions over the years, I'm a passionate, fervent believer in the rights of regions, both to manage their own destiny and to manage their own staff and membership and all of that. Now, if you're therefore a regionalist, if there's any such word as I am, then I had to consider what the real role of national office needs to be. because I think it lost its focus. I don't know what National Office thought its focus was, and I'm not being critical of Paul Kenny here for a second, and he, you know, I worship the ground a man walks, I love him to bits, and we have a bromance so much that my wife says I kiss him more than I kiss her, so that's genuine how much I value that man, and I do. But I needed to bring something different to National Office, because Paul had had a wonderful 10 years, but when you come into anything, you want to bring your own style in, of course you do. So I reorganised National Office, and we now have a management structure in National Office which wasn't there before, that has an industrial arm, it has a finance and membership arm, and it has an external arm. And in the industrial arm we have 3 national secretaries, one for the 3 sections, public services, and commercial and manufacturing, and then under that a team of national officials underneath each of those 3 senior organisers. The 3 senior organisers are Justin Bowden, Rahana Azam and Jude Brimble. They've all been appointed under my sort of stewardship, if you like. And then staff underneath that all fit into one of those 3 teams. So for the first time in National Office, every single person in that industrial arm has a line management role. They understand who they report to, and for the first time ever, probably they understand what the organisation wants from them, and equally there's an opportunity for them, rightly, to say, well, I'd like to do it like this, or what about this? Because that's all fine and fair as well, by the way. We're not a top-down organisation, we never have been. Not for 37 years I've worked for the union, probably 80 before that. We're a bottom-up organisation and always will be. Then we've got the finance and membership arm, which is the director is Alan Wiley, who also manages our national admin unit. That looks after the financial affairs of the union, and it also looks after the membership stuff. And then we've got the external relations, which is our political, our communications, and then our European and international stuff, and our training. And that's where this review is going, of training of our new reps, and then the next bit of that will be our existing reps. In other words, if you've done your 10-day or whatever, and you want to specialise on health and safety training, or on legal training, or on employment law training, or whatever, then we should be able to provide that, and that should be consistent. It should be done by GMB paid people as well, and that's the next stage. So that's part of the reorganisation for National Office that I'm doing, but with one aim in mind, and that is that National Office services the regions, not the other way around. And I think some people in National Office, and I'm talking about in the sort of middle somewhere so that no one starts putting names to faces, got lost in their importance and their role. The role of National Office isn't to say I'm in National and I'll tell you whippersnappers in the regions how to do it. It's the other way around. National Office role is to resource and support regions. If you accept that all of the organising and recruitment and servicing of membership will be done in the regions by you, by the activists, then National role must be to help resource that. We've got some fantastic examples of that in our health and safety department with Dan Shears, in our education department, in our pensions department, some of the work that people do. Fantastic work to help and assist and support and resource regions. And that's what we've got to do industrially as well. But what we lost our way in National Office as well was in terms of our industrial arm, in other words, campaigning, organising for the membership with our communications team. Because I think our communications went so far one way in that as long as you got the GMB's name in the Stoke News or the Birmingham Chronicle or whatever it would be, then you're doing the right job for the GMB. You're not. It has to have some strategy behind it. So the communications team now, it's dealing with social media, don't I bloody know it as well, but it also deals with digital media, it deals with the press, it deals with TV, it deals with the radio, but we want to be in it in terms of communication right from the start. We don't just want to be reactive. And what most unions fall into the trap of is you get a great result, then you go to the media. That's fine, that's great. You know, we've just won this industrial dispute, bang. We need to take the media along with us in the early days, before we get to that stage or when we're moving up to that, because that's when people are joining. When they see us in the press campaigning for our members at that time, that's when they'll join. Once we've sorted the issue, then we say we've done a brilliant job. Where's the incentive to join? So let's get it at an earlier stage, and that's what I'm charging my managers to do. Now I'll move on to just a couple of other things that I'm absolutely intent on upping the GMB's game. One is internationally, because I just don't think we do enough internationally. When I see, we've got an international officer in Schoenberg, lovely lad, great lad, good on the international stage as well. But then you look at Unite, they have 4 people, just roll this whole machine out. We've got Bert, who does it sort of 2/3 of his time, and he does a bit of industrial stuff as well. It's not good enough. The international issues are massive for us, not just the European, the international stuff. Not only the comradeship stuff that I heard people talking about earlier, but also some of the experiences that we see in Colombia and Ecuador and Venezuela are lessons for us to learn, because there today could be our tomorrow, and we have to learn and respond to that. The other bit is about the inequality in society of Britain. I know I said this when I addressed the women's conference that you held not so long ago, so some of you have heard me say it, but it's a statistic that absolutely blows my mind. 2016 Tory Britain, the richest 100 people have the same wealth as the bottom 19 million. 100 people, 19 million. That's how unequal our society is. And don't let anyone kid you that that wealth is trickling down. That inequality is going up. That's the world we live in. That's the reality. And the only way for people to get out of that poverty trap in the middle is to join a union. But they need it to be a campaigning union. Now, that leads me nicely on to, a couple of other things. Young people. I'm fed up with two things about young people. One is hearing that young people are our future. Young people are our present as well, by the way. I've got two daughters, one who's 21, one who's 23, just both gone into work. Literally this year, both gone into work. They need organising now. They're both in the GMB, of course they are. You would expect them to be, but they are, because they're passionate and they're good socialists. But young people need trade union membership just the same as everybody else. But I think we failed young people by standing on rostrums like this saying, young people need to get in a union. What do we ever do about it? When do we ever rock up to where they are? Where do most young people these days sadly work? Where do they work? There you go. McDonald's, Burger King, Sports Direct. Where are we? Where's the trade union? Well, I'll tell you where we will be. We've already done the next campaign, £10 now, next. We've done it, the young members have done it themselves. I've said, take whatever resources you need, whatever money you need, whatever finances, whatever flags, take it. Because you're not going to see me standing in front of a group of young people saying, join the union, you youngsters need it, because they'll run me out of town, rightly. Same as if I said to my daughters, come to a GMB branch meeting. It'd be the last thing they'd ever bloody do, I think, unless we change it. We make it more relevant. We have to make things more relevant. That's what I'm saying. Some of what I say is going to be controversial. Well, so what? And some of you will say, well, we've done it this way for years and it works. Great. If it works, brilliant. I'm not criticising and chucking everything out. But education has become a commodity. Something you either can afford to pay for or you don't get it. And the case in point was the same with my daughters. The 23-year-old got in the last year of £3 a year. Got into university, did very well. She's done very well, she's great. I'm so proud of her. She gets some brains of her mother, clearly. And then the 21-year-old said to me, I'm not going to university, Dad. I said, why on earth not, sweetheart? She said, I can't afford it. She said, £9 a year, I can't afford it. And I said, well, darling, of course me and your mum will help out, we'll pay, we'll do what we can. She said, no, it's not that. She said, not only will be a £40 debt, but where's the jobs at the end of it? And then she said to me, you didn't go to university, did you, Dad? And it hit me like a brick, comrades. Because I had to say to her, no. Because my old man was a dock worker, shop steward in the docks. And my mum was a part-time shop worker when she was clothing and feeding 5 kids and getting us off to school and whatever. Around my kitchen table, as I know it will have been for most of yours, there was never any discussion of a kid like me going to university. I didn't go to college, for Christ's sake. You leave school, when are you going to go out and get a job, boy, and pay the board? That's how it was. And it's gone full circle. Because the only people who these days can really afford to go to university are the kids of the wealthy. And that's therefore pricing our kids out of education. And that's an outrage. Who's going to do something about it? Who's going to change it? We can moan, I can moan here all day long, but we have to do something about it. The last bit is house building. Because the scandal with house building was when Thatcher introduced this right to buy your own council home. And many people did. I didn't agree with the policy then, I don't agree with it now, never will. But I accept that many people bought their council home. They could get it cheap, an English person's home is their castle, so a lot of people bought their own. I get it. The scandal was they were never replaced by the Tories. The even bigger scandal was they were never replaced under the new Labour years of all those years as well. So Labour can't hide behind any of that stuff either. We need to build houses. Again, as much as I love my daughters, I'd like them to bugger off sometime and get their own place, but they just can't afford it because it's supply and demand. Now, the other bit is the best way out of any sort of recession is to invest money in the economy, put money in people's purses or pockets. Well, let's start building houses then, because you start revving up the economy, you start employing building workers, you start employing people who are in the supply chain, you put shops in there that have to give you sandwiches and paint and all that stuff. It works, it's worked for years, so it's about time we got on with it. Politically, I'm sure you're waiting for me to talk about the Labour Party, which I'll happily do. The country's broken. The country's politics are broken. The world's politics have gone crazy. Look at Trump in the USA. At one stage, he was in the lead for Christ. I know you swore it, sorry. For Christ's sake. And he is frightening. He is absolutely frightening. But what we've seen in this country in terms of the politics, I don't just mean Labour politics for a minute, I mean all politics, is being driven by venom and hate and conflict. And if you don't say or side up with one person or another, I'm not blaming either side here, Corbyn or Smith, doesn't matter, then you are absolutely out of bounds. So there's no middle ground. You either are one or you're t'other, or you are going to be attacked. And what the GMB did is, in 2015, the GMB didn't make a nomination. Now, there's a very clear difference between who GMB members block vote for or who GMB as an organisation that affiliates to the Labour Party can nominate. And in 2015, there were, how many people in there? 4 in the running? 4 in the running. And we had hustings at GMB Congress in June of 2015. All 4 spoke, Jeremy included, they were all rubbish. Frankly, it was very early days, they were all useless. And the consensus of Congress, our supreme body, was we're not nominating any of them because there's not a fag paper between them. Go 12 months on. I called, senior management team called, the executive called, time and time again, and at GMB Congress in June 2016, for the Parliamentary Labour Party and everywhere else to get behind the democratically elected leader. Called for that time and time again. When Angela Eagle, I'm not blaming anyone here again, when Angela Eagle threw a hat in the ring and declared she was going to challenge Corbyn, there was an election race, a leadership contest. Now, whether I wanted that to happen, which I didn't, I have to deal with things as they are today. I've been elected by 640,000 people to be the person who's not only your General Secretary, but your Treasurer to respond to the today. And I thought, and I spoke to the management team, that's the regional secretaries, and I spoke to our National President, Mary Turner, and I spoke to Malcolm Sage, our National Vice President, and all of us, every one of us, unanimously agreed that yes, GMB needed to make a nomination. Now the timescale we had was, it was 25th of July, and we had to nominate by the 9th of August. So we had 14 days. What did we do? Unanimously we agreed the best way to do it would be ask the members. So we balloted the members. Someone suggested, I'd say, well, just do the ballot internally in the GMB because it's cheaper. And I said, no, we won't. We'll do the ballot by ERS, the most renowned, world-renowned balloting service in the world. The one who is conducting, ironically, the Labour Party leadership ballot now. So if any of you are in the Labour Party, you've had your voting form, you'll see it says on the back by ERS, the Electoral Reform Services. So the reason we did it by ERS is because it meant it was independent. It was externally done by internationally renowned people, and it was independently done and counted and verified, and it's all up on the website now and you've seen it all, whatever. Now, the turnout was derisory. The turnout in the General Secretary election was derisory. But you can't make people vote. That's democracy. If people, it shows to me that people are probably up to here with politics. I'll tell you what, personally, I can't wait for the bloody election, the leadership election to get out of the way. I'm pretty certain Corbyn's going to win. Let's get behind him and we'll move on. That's democracy for you. As I've said, I was speaking to Gordon earlier. But we don't ask the members in the GMB, the only union who democratically asked every one of its members. I'm sorry, whether people like that or not, it's a fact. And facts are stubborn things, you know. We asked every single member. When the members said 60-40 it's Smith, well then it's Smith. As I say, if and when Corbyn wins, that's the democracy in the Labour, it's Corbyn. But I'll tell you what I won't be a part of, and that is a part of any split in the Labour Party as long as I've got a breath in my body. Because I'm sorry, the Labour Party isn't in 2016 about Jeremy Corbyn or Owen Smith. The Labour Party is about 1900. Because people won't realise and won't remember why and how the Labour Party was born. In the late 1800s, workers like yourselves were being downtrodden, browbeaten by employers, left, right and centre. And occasionally, workers like the match girl strike or like various other key disputes, you'd win a tiny little victory. But then people realise, hang on a minute, we can't just keep winning one there and then losing the next 50 and then winning one. We need political influence. And that's when the Labour Party was born. The Labour Party is and was the Workers' Party. And the Labour Party was born in 1900. And GMB were one of the founder unions who was part of the Labour Party being born. And I'm not going to be anyone who walks away from that, whatever the result, whatever the outcome. If the democracy of the membership says it's corporate, it's corporate. 1,000,000%. The GMB will be right there with it. Same as if it's me. Exactly the same. Brexit. I think Brexit, the whole EU referendum, has done more damage to this country than any of that political stuff. I've just been talking about the Tories, the Labour Party, bar none. Because what we had was, in terms of the Leave campaign, at best, at most gentle, misleading information, particularly about immigrants, migrants coming over here, taking our jobs, taking our school places, putting our NHS under pressure. Migrants, economic migrants from places like Poland and Romania and Hungary and Lithuania, don't come over here to sit on their asses with their curtains closed while we all go to work. They're mostly young people who come over here to work. They want to do work. And if they're being exploited and undercut and their wages being driven down, whose fault's that? That's not the Polish person's fault or the Lithuanian, that's the employer's fault. It's the employer who's absolutely taking the mickey out of those workers, and that's why we have a responsibility to organise those workers. But I'm afraid the Remain campaign, of which I was one, didn't get that message across. But it wasn't about that. It was about undercutting employers. It was about scandalous employers. But the other bit was that the Leave campaign told downright lies. Remember the 380 million a week on the NHS, on blazing all over the bus? Complete and utter fabrication and lies. And where's the plan B now? There's no plan B. But again, what I won't be a part of is, and I've been asked many times by many people, will the GMB sign up to this organisation that says we should have another referendum? No, I won't. Because that's democracy, comrades. And what if we have another referendum and it comes out that we remain? Do we have another one? Best of 3, best of 5? Let's have a round robin. It's nuts. Sorry, that's democracy. The people have spoken. That's how it is. So, what is a real issue for us is who pays the price for Brexit? Because it won't be working people. And that again is where you come in. Because if any of your workplaces you see a downturn, you see employers start squeezing and start pulling and cutting corners, we need to know. Because we're going to take employers head on. Because it won't be, yet again, working people paying the price for a decision that wasn't made by them. So, I think I've almost talked long enough. Just on that Brexit stuff, of course, what we also saw was, through the immigration talk and they're over here, this, that and the other, we saw a massive increase in hate crime. And that was heartbreaking to see. But that's not gone away. Yes, the immediate furore, the immediate coverage in the press about it has died down a bit. But some of that hatred message hasn't gone away. I read about one yesterday, a Polish lad was killed in Essex, outside a chippy at night or something. They think that was race-related crime, race-hate crime. But even cutting away from that race hatred, there are so many Eastern European people over in the UK now who feel absolutely unsafe, not only for their personal safety, but for their future. Because Theresa May still hasn't said, of course, if you're over here and you're an Eastern European economic right, you're welcome to stay. And that is the first message through the TUC, and the GMB have got a motion in about this. We only get 2 motions at the TUC each year. And this is the motion that I will personally be moving to say, we're holding this government to account. We will make sure, and I will make sure that workers don't pay the price, but secondly, that May needs to come out and say that every single European migrant worker over here now has a right to bloody well stay. So, I promised to be the Activist General Secretary, and this is what I mean. Not me talking to you for the last 20 minutes or however long it's been, but for me to sit and listen to your plenary session now, to come into your groups, to hear what you have to say, to hear what the challenges are, and to hear what you need from us and from me. Because my strapline was, I want to build a 21st century union. It won't be me that builds a 21st century union, it'll be us that builds a 21st century union. I'll be made proud to work with you to do that. Thank you for listening.